seems that this year really isn't Nijisanji's year, huh? I mean, the VTubing space alone is crazy. I feel like we can't even pass 2 weeks before hearing something new. But this time, of course, we are going full circle back to any color. And what we're discussing today is crazy. It's about a train wreck of a VTuber whose every passing step triggered some sort of landmine, and he ended up even leaking internal Nijisanji protocols. This tweet right here kind of sums it up. 18-year-old meets 20-plus married woman in VR chat. They get into an online relationship. They abuse and use each other in various toxic ways. This eventually destroys her marriage. He makes it big, realizes he doesn't need her. She goes nuclear. My literal reaction. Now look, this isn't 100% accurate, right? She wasn't married, she was just in a long-term relationship with a boyfriend. And while yes, this does kind of sum it up, this situation is an iceberg, and the devil is in the details, because here, he left out that the VTuber in question touched himself, yes, down there, while on a call with this woman without her consent, by the way. And somehow, okay, somehow managed to manipulate the situation in such a way that by the end of it, she was the one apologizing to him. It's absolutely bonkers, dude. It is crazy. Like, I'm not using the word train wreck lightly. This is insane. And there's many more details like that that will make you question whether the human race can survive another 100 years, and how Nijisanji is such a mess internally. It's more than we could have ever anticipated, even with everything that's been going on. So strap in for this one. Really sit down and take a deep breath, because it's about to get crazy. Guys, I have great news. This video is not sponsored, but you should know that I stream on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and that my VTuber debut is happening on May 4th. That's it from me. Back to the video. The VTuber at the center of this catastrophe is none other than Luca Kaneshiro, a Nijisanji English branch VTuber and part of the Luxium wave. This was a wave comprised of only male VTubers. Now look, controversies aside, this wave was a very big deal for the global VTuber community. Before Luxium, male VTubers were purely seen as a joke, but this wave changed that. The idea of male VTubers became viable. Now, of course, the reason why they became viable and blew up so quickly was because they were thirst trapping, gay baiting, and pretty much creating a boyfriend experience type scenario. I mean, evidence of their success can be seen here. Vox Akuma at 3rd, Mr. Rise, who has graduated, at 6, and Luca at 7, all members of Luxium with above 1 million subscribers each, and in the top 10 of Nijisanji global, beating most Japanese VTubers in Nijisanji's biggest market. But in Luca's case, before even joining Nijisanji, he did have an online presence. Not as Luca, but as someone named Java. And his insane trail of self-destruction, with him stepping on a landmine with every step he takes, can be traced back to those days. According to the VR Chat Legends wiki, Java is known as a god-tier trap in VR chat, with the most notable quote from him being, "That's kinda gay." So that was his whole gimmick. Pretend to be a female with his voice and then reveal the fact that he's a guy and watch the reaction. He got so good at being a trap in VR chat that he ended up joining the, I like to call it the Bohemian Grove of streamers, which was Rafflegator's invite-only Gator crew. Now, this VR chat server had some of the biggest streamers at the time present there, which meant that if you somehow got an invite and played your cards right, you could potentially start a streaming career, which is why so many people were desperate to get an invite. Some of the names on this list include people like Soda Poppin' and Moon Moon, not to mention a lot of rising stars, so it was a big deal. This was an 18+ RP server on VR chat. Yes, you can imagine the degeneracy that went on there, especially with the content mostly being centered around awkwardness and dating, trying to pick up people, trying to riz them before even the term was invented. You get the point. After being invited to the server by Rafflegator, Java met Raziel, a VR chat streamer and role player. It was at that point that he asked Rafflegator to set him up on an RP date with her. So they went on RP dates, streamed together a lot. The community got used to seeing both of them in the same room. And from the perspective of a viewer, everything seemed to have been going well. Then at some point, Nijisanji opens up auditions, Java applies, to his surprise he's accepted, and boom baby, stardom. He is Luca Kaneshiro, in the Luxeme wave, and he makes it big. But again, this is from the perspective of a viewer. I can't even begin to describe what happened behind the scenes. The irony here is that even though he's made this joke, agency VTubers commits cancelable actions. That is exactly what he ends up doing multiple times over, both in terms of contract breaches and just straight up ethical and moral type incidents. Because it was on March 29th that Raziel herself decided to expose Luca for his true self in an effort to clear her name from his rabid hardcore fans. By the way, those same rabid fans, they didn't even let this document stay up for more than 24 hours before mass reporting it, with Google having to take it down. Dude, it's gone. It's straight up gone. I've never seen this happen before, but thankfully she re-uploaded it. Guys, this thing is 58 pages. 58! What is this, a master's thesis? A dissertation? Like, is she going for a PhD? 58! I clicked on this thinking, oh, it's probably going to be a few pages with some proof, with some timestamps, with some DMs. 58 pages! Now, of course, I read the whole thing, but don't worry, we're not going to be doing that. Instead, I'll sum it up and we'll go through the highlights of the absolute degeneracy that occurred between Raziel, the author, and Luca. She starts off by saying this: why does this document exist? A very good question. She goes on to say that more information, such as the Nijisanji contract, has come out along with another individual in the know confessing to me that Luca Kaneshiro has allegedly harassed others inside of Nijisanji. So here she's talking about how a Nijisanji VTuber contract leaked recently as things were escalating after Selen's termination. Legal Mindset, who's a registered lawyer and happens to have a great channel, went through the entire contract on one of his streams and pretty much outlined the fact that this is terribly written and gives a huge disadvantage to the VTuber signing it. Selen's termination also shed light on harassment happening internally, so the fact that Luca seems to have been harassing people allegedly as well goes back to that incident too. She continues, I believe it is my responsibility to bring to light his problematic behavior and patterns of abuse as both Java and Luca for those who may be in a precarious situation, which do not allow them to speak or act. This is also to touch upon the internal issues of any color's management of their talents. Any documents are simply meant to prove the credibility of my story and that I was deeply involved with Luca. Oh yeah, she was, buddy. She was deeply involved. She then goes on to say that while some may be asking why I didn't do this sooner, I'll be completely honest, no one cared. She says, I am to this day harassed and sent death threats by Luca's fanbase. They actively suppress, lie, and spread vicious rumors to try and discredit me, hence why her document got taken down from Google like literally one day after she posted it. I would get anonymous death threats in my Marshmallow and Sock Puppet Twitter accounts, so I gave up for a long time. So as I mentioned before, they met in December 2018 in the exclusive 18+ VR chat lobby that had a lot of big streamers. So Java then asked Rafflegator, the streamer who owned the lobby, to see if he could set up a date with his character and Raziel's character. It was nothing out of the ordinary, right? As she mentions, you know, this was part of the whole server. This was the main content. So she was okay with it, but she apparently, according to her, set very clear boundaries, that she wasn't interested in actual dating outside of RP, that she had a long-term boyfriend, etc., right? So as far as she was concerned, things were okay. Now, of course, they gradually became close friends. They started inviting each other to private worlds, hung out together, chilled, talked, and that's when he would start to open up about his home situation, his mental and physical abuse that comes from his family, and then of course there's the whole, he would tell me that he never felt comfortable talking about this stuff with anyone before. Look, this is typical. Typically, if someone is nice to you, forms a bond with you, and then all of a sudden trauma dumps enough of a load to break a Tesla truck, guess what? This is most likely a great way to just manipulate you. So of course, she started opening up in return as well. Now here's what, this is probably the craziest thing. Look, we're still on page 2, okay? We're still on page 2. This is the craziest thing that happens in all these 58 pages. Brace. So on January 17, 2019, Java would once again invite me to a private world. We were both in full body tracking in a VR chat. We discussed RP and made small talk before Java would go silent. At first, I thought maybe his mom came into his room, as she often did, and he muted himself to talk to her. I kept talking, and I could see him moving slightly, but he kept silent. I asked him if everything was okay, and he said it was. I then asked him what he was doing. It was there. Without asking me if it was okay, out of the blue, with no prior consent, and with boundaries already made clear that I did not want to date, he told me he was touching himself to my voice. Yes, down there, buddy. That's what that means. He was beating his sausage. I froze up. I honestly did not know how to respond at the moment, so I just kept talking. Luckily, it did not last long because suddenly I would see his avatar's head drop to the floor and he would go offline. So typically in VR, when you have full body tracking, when you put your headset on the floor, that's what happens, right? That means he left. I would find out shortly after in Discord DMs that his mom had walked in on him. I didn't know how to respond, given I was told by him his mom would still physically abuse and yell at him. So my brain switched to make sure he was okay as opposed to addressing what he just did with me, as you can see in the DMs below. Check these DMs out, dude. This is insane. This is a master class of manipulation. It is absolutely bonkers. Look at this. So, my mother caught me. Raziel responds with a flushed emoji. Luca then says, that's an oof. She says, I'm afraid that is what happened. Then he says, yeah. And then she says, big oof, I'm sorry. Bro, this dude took out his sausage, started playing with his sausage. No consent, with clear boundaries established, okay? She's the one who ends up apologizing. I hope you're okay and don't get into trouble. Heart emoji. Oh no, big trouble. Sad face. Personal space, holy fuck, they not know? Sorry, Raz. Yeah, dude, sorry, Raz. They don't know, man. I'm beating my meat. Can she not leave me alone? No, it's okay. What do you mean it's okay? This is so stupid. No, bro, it's okay. Listen, I know you beat your meat in front of me. It's all good. Listen, your mom caught you, so I apologize. It's fine. I'll give you an update. My mom is literally having a meltdown. I'm really sorry. She apologizes again. No, it's literally okay. What they're doing now is restricting my playtime. As long as you're safe. Yes, please. As long as you're safe so you can beat your meat next time safely. They're gonna limit my use of the internet and I will be only able to use it for 2 hours. Forever? Clearly not, because later, Raziel would just start streaming again on Twitch. Now, Luca, or Java at the time, lived, or still lives, in Australia, right? So when she would go live, he would wake up in the morning at 4 a.m. Australian time just to be a part of her stream. He slowly became obsessive and possessive. Whenever she would talk or flirt with someone else, whenever she would do something with someone else, he would get angry. She would tell him multiple times to knock it off and that it wasn't appropriate. But even with all these things, she still felt the need to specify. I do greatly appreciate him helping me and appearing on my stream to this day. However, he just beat his meat without your consent when you told him about your long-term relationship and established boundaries. This was the perfect time to tell him, hey, you know what? It's been fun. I'm not interested in talking to you anymore, okay? She has had one hell of a chance to do this, but she opted not to. Why? I do not know. He became super possessive, and then she said, after establishing more boundaries and being understood by both of us, we were able to continue our friendship. I don't know how, when you had already established boundaries and the dude beat his meat. But even with those boundaries, he said she still feels obligated to talk and be with him because of the way he would get upset, or at least I felt like I had to keep my conversations with others short. Now, in extreme, and I mean extreme ironic fashion, the god-tier trap who would pretend to be a female to then trick people that he's a male had big problems with certain groups of people. He really didn't like it when someone called him gay. His mom joked about it and he was like, fuck no, dude. Fuck no. No, dude, I'm not gay. Don't say that. And as recently as January 2023, he said this. Yeah, trans people make me uncomfortable and pregnant women. That is so random though, dude. Like, listen, if you typically have something against the LGBT, it can be explained somehow, some way, right? Like, it's clear here. His mom, when she said, are you gay? And he said, no, she said, you little shit, thank God, okay? We can say it's cultural, familial, where you grow up, you know, it can be explained to a certain degree, okay? But pregnant women, what the hell is this? I can't even explain this. Where did this come from? Like, why do pregnant women make you uncomfortable? Like, oh man, when I see those bellies of pregnant women, man, the fact that they have a life inhibiting them, oh my God, dude. It's just... And still, her friendship persisted with him, okay? Now, at some point, Java would decide to stream on Twitch under the name of Java with 4 A's. After becoming a god-tier trap, like the wiki says, and tricking streamers such as Soda Poppin', he started to gain some sort of popularity. This is when, for whatever reason, Raziel abandoned her entire streaming career just to help him with his streaming. I don't know why. Like, does he have a gun to her head or something? Does he have blackmail on her? No, I don't know why, but she did. okay? She did. She started managing his channel, his community. Her work included keeping him company on stream per request, suggesting games for him to play based on popularity, managing sponsorships, cultivating and managing his community, running and helping his moderation team, coming up with subathon goals and executing the goals that didn't directly involve him, streaming for him at least once a week on his channel so that he would stay consistent. And even after all this, Java would still lie to her about his revenue, making her think that he makes way less than he actually makes, and about going to school when he wasn't even enrolled, among various things. Now, as he was streaming on Twitch, Nijisanji all of a sudden opened up their auditions for their next wave. He would, of course, apply. And during the application process, while waiting to hear back from them, he would end up making 2 alts on Twitter to harass others during the Nijisanji audition process. One called Lolly Springa and the other one called Poggers Woggers. He even linked his own Twitter on his alt saying, "Help it out, Pog, guys." This is someone talking about their favorite VTuber and then him replying, "Who asked?" Now, the thing is, initially, he wouldn't admit to Raziel that these were his accounts until she tried to log into them using the same password she was given for his other accounts, like his Twitch stream. Again, continuing with the lying, and yet she's still here. Now, as he was waiting for Nijisanji's final response, he got banned from the GTA 5 RP server NoPixel for sexual harassment. Look at this, dude, look at this. We had multiple reports of you pushing sexual harassment during and going against TOS on a 911 call. The RPer wasn't comfortable with the direction it was heading. In terms of him RPing, that his testicle was damaged, causing him to sound like a woman and begging us to help him to put it back. You made a racially offensive remark during the heli ride back to the city as well. Tried to grab EMSs inappropriately. Dude, he's a train wreck. He's an absolute disaster. And even though he just got banned from NoPixel, around that time, Nijisanji asked him to come for a final interview. And guess what? He was the first English male wave VTuber under the revolutionary Luxium wave. Yes, the same wave that revolutionized male VTubers in the industry on the global side. He was the first. Does that not say a lot about the wave and the company? Nijisanji just can't catch a break, huh? Now, Raziel says here, our relationship was still very good at this point. We would spitball names for his character where we only had the image below to go off of, etc., etc. Now, I don't know what her definition of a good relationship is, but even at this point, their relationship was absolutely putrid. Okay, this was terrible. During the naming process, one funny thing that'll come up later is that he mentioned that one of his aspirations was how he did not want to become like other male VTubers. He wanted to go with a non-boyfriend experience, and he didn't want to pander or sell out. He wanted to be non-lewd and really play into the mafia-esque character, the one you see here. Look, man, very admirable. I'm going for that too. But if you've watched Luca, you already know this didn't even last a month. This didn't even last like half a year. So at this point, he got signed to Nijisanji and had to prepare for his debut stream. This is a VTuber's first ever stream. It's a big moment and many things get commissioned and made to make it as impactful as possible. Luca the train wreck was having a hard time preparing though. One of his artists ghosted him and he couldn't figure out how to make some things work. So hey, guess who stepped up for free? Raziel. She made his PowerPoint, schedule, outro. It's just like she's his babysitter. It's also crazy to me how Nijisanji's not there to do these things. You're starting a new wave on the global market, which is, by all means, way more important than the Japanese market long term, and he was left to do these things by himself. As far as I know, other corporations actually make an effort to assist you in this process, at least when you're starting out. After Luca started at Nijisanji, after the debut, he would cut off contact with pretty much everyone. He would still speak to Raziel, but he would still be abusive, comparing her to his abusive mother, which is one of the worst things you can do when all you do is complain about your mother and then compare your friend to her. But even with all this, she still stayed and did not cut contact with him. Then something substantial happens, and it's easily one of the most ridiculous things in this entire document. She calls it the Ring Fit Adventure Incident, and it's really gonna test your cringe tolerance. Now, if you're not aware, the Ring Fit is something you can use with your Nintendo Switch. It's great for exercising, and quite a bit of VTubers have already streamed themselves working out with it. Now, Raziel and another mod from the Java days were the only moderators in his entire chat. And we're talking about a YouTube channel that gets thousands of concurrent viewers at once. Now, she personally couldn't make it to the stream. She watched it back and saw that many of the comments were sexual in nature. She asked Luca if this was fine with him, and he did say that it made him uncomfortable. So the next stream where he was doing the ring fit, she would try to steer the conversation in other directions if the chat was getting horny. It got so crazy that at some point she had to call out someone publicly in chat saying that Luca was moaning on purpose. She said, no, actually, this is just him breathing heavily from tough exercise. Man, what a tough situation. You know what? You tell me, does he sound like he's moaning or just heavily breathing? It just keeps going. Bro, look at this comment right here. Every single timestamp where he moans extremely sexually, bro. What is this? Look at the chat. What is this? Heavily breathing my ass, dude. What do you mean? Who the hell breathes like this? Then someone donates and says, why are your moderators banning people? Luca immediately sides with the donator and says, don't worry, I'll talk to them. She then panics. Raziel panics and just messages him immediately saying, we didn't ban anyone. We only timed out, please. Which is a sign of a great relationship, by the way. If your friend talks to you this way, just know you have a very healthy relationship, guys. So they talked about it, and then he made this tweet saying, I trust my moderators to do their jobs. Do not lie to me and say they were banning people because of an emote when all they were doing was timing out very weird comments. Stop it, it was all a misunderstanding. Still though, even with this tweet siding with his moderators, Raziel was doxxed. Her image is put everywhere on social media and got death threats and harassment. So what did she do? She asked to speak to his manager at Nijisanji to better formulate a plan on how to best handle this. Both Luca and his manager ignored her. And Luca told her, listen, you know what? Just be a silent mod. Just don't talk in the chat. She says this put a giant strain on our friendship. But guess what? She stayed again. She's not leaving. She's not getting contact with him. I don't know why. Most people would have cut contact and ended this quote-unquote friendship as soon as he beat his meat. But no, she's still here for whatever reason. So remember how I said that it was admirable that Luca didn't want to go with the boyfriend experience route? Well, as you saw from the Ring Fit stream, that did not last long. One of the main reasons why he converted to BFE was because he kept comparing his view count to the other Luxium members, which according to Raziel, the number fixation is what drove him away from what he originally wanted to portray. He would be upset if I took notice of his new on-stream personality and overall content change. Luca would start to pander more. He would fujo bait, which is pretty much gay baiting, with the other boys, and started to shift towards a more boyfriend experience type content. He would get frustrated and sad that I didn't watch his streams anymore, which was for numerous reasons. One was the content shift, the other was his time slot, which was quite late for me. I would occasionally watch his streams, but I couldn't even talk about them because it was like walking on eggshells. I couldn't joke about the things he did or say as he would get upset at me, yet somehow all we would talk about was Nijisanji and his streams. And one of the funniest things about this, right? Remember, he didn't want to be boyfriend experience, he didn't want to be overly horny, he didn't want to pander for these things. He would always say things like this, like, look, Jesus, there are so many shirtless fan arts. I cannot retweet them because it'll just be weird. It's like, why are you talking about it then? What's going on? Thinking about my voice tweet 1 hour ago being sexual makes me uncomfortable and I don't want that up. It's like, really? What is it? What's the voice tweet? It can't be that bad. Come on.
$350K. Huh?
Huh?
That's my little lookups.
I am cringe champing. Trust me, buddy. Same here. Thank you for 173,000 subscribers. Who talks like this? Listen, you guys can laugh and cringe all you want. Look at this. 34,000 likes. 1,400 bookmarks, 7,400 retweets, 1,000 comments. This was before we could see impressions on posts. I guarantee you this has at least 500,000. It pays, man. As cringy as this is. He'd be mostly jealous of Vox, who was getting more attention than him. He would constantly be on sites like 4chan, and he would ego search himself on Twitter, which means looking at positive comments that are glazing him 24/7 and then telling Raziel about it. She says here, he would show me fan art and clips people were making of him nonstop and what they were saying about him. People thought Riroran was needy streamer overload. No. It is him. He would even directly message his fans on Twitter and lie to Raziel about it, which is an extreme form of parasocial. Bye, I'm winning. This is a fan who got a DM from him saying, night, you too. She probably experienced puberty for the second time after this message. So Raziel was what was holding Luca's entire career together at this point. And she was continuing to do work for him, and he started to pay her. Now here's the thing. He wanted to pay her a monthly salary. She wanted a simple contract. He denied the contract and wouldn't even allow her to send invoices to him. No, instead he would just send her random payments. She had to remind him, by the way, saying commission, commission service, commission, commission. Even at one point saying happy birthday when it wasn't her birthday. That's tax fraud, dude. What are you doing? What is going on? At some point, she tried to do rules. After months of not having chat rules, she made them with the other mod. Luca denied it, rewrote them. This is what he came up with. Look at this. Do not be weird, champion. That is super unpog. Be respectful to one another. We only pog and not weird. Bro, unless you were chronically online on Twitch back then, you would have no idea what this means. It's just insane to me. Things somehow just kept getting worse and more ridiculous, but Raziel's role in the stream and Luca's ecosystem kept getting bigger and bigger. She would write character lore for him. She would make outfits for him. She would write the script for his voice packs. And at some point, she even wrote his signature for him. Look at this. This is her handwriting. This is her handwriting as well, the handwritten note. And this was sent to everyone who bought his voice pack. This is insane. This doesn't just hurt him, it hurts any other VTubers under Nijisanji because now people are asking, am I even getting real signatures? When he reached 1 million subscribers, management sent him this message, which was leaked, of course. Thanks to do for 1 million subs. Hi Luca, since you are very close to 1 million subs now, please proceed the following ASAP. Something to do with merch, submit handwritten short message similar to the attached image. This was from another Japanese Nijisanji VTuber called Kane. And they're using this as an example. So he wrote to Raziel the message that he wanted, and guess what? She wrote it for him. There is nothing genuine about him, dude. She even drew the drawing here, she wrote his name. He didn't do a single thing except come up with the message, which was very simple, by the way. She even gave him ideas of what to do to celebrate, going through old clips, showcasing fan art, drawing something to be updated. I think at this point we all understand how much of a train wreck Luca and his career has been if it wasn't for Raziel and their very weird relationship. Nijisanji don't even have to try to look bad. They signed someone who's an absolute psychopath as one of their first signings for the Luxium wave. But this document takes it a step further because it shows us things that Luca leaked to Raziel internally from Nijisanji that he wasn't supposed to show a single living soul. She says, to my understanding, staff have 3 channels of communication with the Nijisanji livers. This would be Slack, Microsoft Teams, and Discord. I think just the idea that they use Microsoft Teams to communicate with their VTubers is enough to never ever want to sign up with Nijisanji. Forget everything else. The fact that they use Microsoft Teams. While it was rare I would get screenshots of any internal messages, there were a couple times I did. One would be about staff showing EN what 3D recording looked like for concerts with a video call. One would be upper management thanking Luca for his hard work through Slack, and the other, already shown above, was asking for a message from Luca for his 1 million subscriber milestone through Discord. So this is the image showing them how the concert would look like in Microsoft Teams in a live stream. And this right here was a message from an employee working for Nijisanji EN saying, to be honest, I bet everything on EN. If EN had not succeeded, I would have been fired, so I'm extremely grateful for your daily cooperation. This showcases the extremely positive work environment at Nijisanji, guys. It feels like I'm watching an anime with someone who's in the corporate work culture under like an ugly bastard of a boss, right? By the way, he leaks something that explains why Nijisanji was so terrible at handling the Selen Tatsuki situation and everything else afterwards. She says, there are multiple times and instances where something would happen and I would ask Luca if they ever received basic public relations training. He would inform me they did not. Surprise, surprise. Any colors management felt non-existent from what Luca had told me. Luca had also told me early on in his time in Nijisanji that management told him that he was supposed to be the leader of Luxium. That clearly was not the case. Look at who's in the middle in this picture. Yeah, it was Vox, not him. There was also an event that was meant to happen with all Luxium Wave VTubers, but for whatever reason, last second, both Ike Eveland and Luca were excluded without being given any reason, again showcasing that this company culture is incredible. Now, she did include a full conversation. There's one thing that interests me in this whole thing, and that's the way she was addressing him at this point. Look at this. I'm just a little petty, he says. And then she says, oh yeah, what happened? Love. Then if we go to the album itself to look at more screenshots, at some point to calm him down, she says, that's working for a business, baby. So look, she doesn't specify this in her document, but she gave us no updates on what happened to her long-term relationship. I think at this point we can easily assume that she wasn't with a boyfriend anymore. I would hope so, talking like this to another guy. But she specified in the beginning that she never had a romantic relationship with Luca. Look, man, as far as I'm concerned, I don't call my friends love and baby, okay? So it goes further to show that they had a very weird relationship that didn't make sense at all to me. Now, due to this event being canceled for him and Ike, he got really pissed off and ended up causing one of the members of staff at Nijisanji to allegedly start crying. According to his messages, he was saying that he was talking to a vice president and a producer. God knows who cried in this conversation, but this also, again, shows, guys, listen, Nijisanji's hiring right now. For $2 an hour, you too can work in an extremely positive workplace. He also leaked the fact that he had dinner with the CEO of Nijisanji. Yes, Riku Tazumi, the one who gives a sloppy toppy like no one else, baby. Going to a very fancy Japanese house, being escorted by people in kimonos. Then he says, then it was just like the upper management, these millionaires and billionaires. Raziel says, you're a millionaire. And then Luca says, oh yeah, that's right. Motherfucker had to be reminded. Oh right, yeah, I am a millionaire. That's true. Hey man, gay baiting pays money, baby. That's why they do it, even though they know it's cringe. But that's not the end of the internal Nijisanji leaks. No, in fact, this one is probably the most incriminating. According to Luca, he said that multiple girls were coming to him in Nijisanji saying that Aster Arcadia was harassing and bullying others internally. Now, this is Aster right here. Of course, these are allegations. According to Raziel, this was also confirmed by another VTuber who's gonna stay anonymous. But look, in general, when people keep saying, oh, this guy's bullying, this guy's bullying, this guy, multiple fingers being pointed at multiple different people, it already indicates a not so positive work culture. Of course, Aster couldn't care less about these accusations as they're currently playing League of Legends and saying things like, I eat you. But things are not looking good for Nijisanji at all. This was the DM she received from another Nijisanji liver saying, to help you with clarity, I remember that incident, it was Aster. And of course, management didn't do anything about it. The same Nijisanji liver also told her that Luca has done a lot of bad things, not just to you, so thank you for sharing your experience. A lot of people waited for you to tell the truth for a while because it had been an issue, so I'm happy you finally did. So apparently, he also was harassing people inside of Nijisanji. So this was so big that just like Selen's situation, it reached the Japanese side of the internet. Look, man, courtesy to Fall Side on this one. I had no idea this was even a website. I mean, this looks like something out of 1998. But apparently, it's a well-known Japanese blog talking about this whole incident. And as you can see, there are a whole lot of comments, hundreds, reaching close to 1,700 at the time of me recording this. At some point, listen, I don't need to give you a recap, okay? Just the fact that he had touched himself in a call with her while she had established boundaries was enough of a reason to leave, right? After all this was years of having to endure this relationship, friendship, whatever it was, she decided to end their friendship. She says, Luca would become too much for my mental health, and I told him I needed to take a break away from our friendship. I blocked him on Discord after I said I needed some breathing room. I let him know if there was an emergency, it was okay to call/text me. You'd think it's the start of something new, of a new chapter for her. Nope. After a week or so, I found out that allegedly people were making him uncomfortable and he started to fall asleep on other Nijisanji live streams, something he had never done before. I texted him if he was okay. Dude, he had one job. Just cut him off. She calls him by his real name, says, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. She tells him, hey, I've heard of what's going on. You're sleeping on people's streams. Is everything okay? And he says, yeah, don't worry. My sleep is really bad, but I just need to fix myself. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. Cool. Does she go back to taking a break from him? Nope. He would go on trips, message her, Snapchat her, update her. She asks him, hey, I'm having a celebration on stream. Want to show up? He says, yes, then doesn't show up. Amazing. Then their friendship grew more toxic. You should have left when you had the chance, Raziel. She'd be hurt, upset, frustrated, angry, you know, the typical stuff that had been happening for the last 4 years of their friendship. She had to fly out to her dad so he could keep an eye on her, essentially, from what she says, because she was thinking of graduating her soul out of her body. She was thinking of transitioning from being alive to not alive. Yes, that's right. We're avoiding the YouTube demonetization algorithm. But you know what I mean. She was coherent enough to realize that she was forming a plan in her head to... So she stayed with her dad a bit, went to a psychologist, hoping to recover. She went back home afterwards, and guess what she did? First thing she did? Continue her friendship with Luca. Dude, this is insane. This is absolutely preposterous. The toxicity would continue, and he would tell her, listen, he couldn't do it anymore. He never wanted to talk to her again. The expectations were killing him, for whatever that meant. But still, even when he was pushing her away, guess what she did, guys? Did she actually leave? Nope, she stayed. We would exchange diary-esque updates to each other after this for a couple months, but I noticed it was making me increasingly anxious. I wonder why? She was going through multiple cancer-removing surgeries and didn't have anyone to talk to about this as he had isolated her. Now that sucks, and cancer sucks in general, but guys, would it be too much to say that Luca was part of the reason she got cancer? Exposure to someone like this might have contributed to the cancer? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but just a theory. Now get this, after not updating me on a major life event, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I told him this. So what does he do? What does Luca do to counter this? Well, he showed me pictures of his family's golden retriever puppy, which turned out to not be his dog. Another lie. And then he apologized. He told her he still wanted to be friends, but that he couldn't do it right now. They would finally stop talking after that, and he would only reach out again asking for tax information because apparently paying someone to do something for you and saying happy birthday as the reason is tax fraud. Look, it's clear both Raziel and Luca have big issues. And yeah, as much as I feel sorry for Raziel, at a certain point when you get so many chances to escape a relationship, you staying against all odds, even when you want to take your own life, does make this voluntary, does make it consensual. The guy beat his meat without your consent, but you stayed. No one forced you to. There's no good guy or bad guy here. Both of these individuals have severe issues, and they should do everything in their power to stay the hell away from each other. Now, when it comes to Nijisanji, they have not taken the time to address this at all. Instead, in extremely ironic Nijisanji timing, they chose to peddle Luca's merch at the time of this document's release. You can't make this shit up. Look, Luca broke his Nijisanji contract multiple times in some of the worst ways possible. Yes, he has not responded on his side yet about the allegations against him, sure, but one thing is for sure. We have internal Nijisanji leaks sent to Raziel on his behalf. That alone is an immediate termination in the VTubing industry. But hey guys, according to Vox, there is no favoritism in Nijisanji, so I'm sure he'll get terminated, right? The impact of this whole thing is also definitely going to be negligible. They need huge internal changes. Because as it stands right now, the internal harassment and bullying, the disorganization, the terrible management, the psychos they're recruiting to be VTubers, where are you finding these people? The mass graduations, this is not helping. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Love you. Mwah.